Hello and welcome to episode 17 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Bryan Stockton.
And I'm James Whittingham, hunkering down in beautiful Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, where the world is ending, but from a distance. How are you today, Bryan?
Yeah, I'm great. Things are certainly weird out there in the world.
And unpleasant, and makes you wonder why even do a podcast when the world is so crappy. But people are depending on us for inspiration and the sound of our voices to get them through this pandemic and the horrible things that are going on. And the reality is that the world sucks.
I have the answer here for you, James, of what we should do about this.
Okay.
And it's to bring back a long-loved segment of the show called Bryan's TV Corner. Play the theme song.
What? Bryan's TV Corner. He watches the TV so you don't have to.
That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so Bryan's TV Corner. This week I've been watching Late Night with Seth Meyers. Have you been watching it?
No, sir.
So that's my TV pick of the week, Late Night with Seth Meyers. All this week, the first three shows so far, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they've opened with Amber Ruffin, one of my favorite comedians. And she's been going on the show and telling stories of her interactions with police. And it's wildly informative and highly recommended. And I think it's a good thing to watch. You could probably find them on YouTube.
I go inside, I change into my pajamas. And when I come out of my room, I see that he has left his wallet. So I call him, he comes back to get it. I step out onto the porch with no shoes in my pajamas. And instead of walking to the end of the porch and down the stairs, I just reach over the side of the porch to give him his wallet back. So he rides up on his bicycle and just lets his bicycle fall and then reaches up to get his wallet. Now, at that moment, I'm reaching down and he's reaching up. A cop car pulls up, it flashes its lights. The cop gets out and she's like, hold it right there. We got you.
Yeah, well worth the watch. Amber Ruffin is, she's one of my favorite comedians. She's a writer and performer on Late Night with Seth Meyers. And those are real good. It goes a long way to explaining why there's protests all over the world.
I didn't expect Bryan's TV Corner to come right off the top like that. That really threw me. Having said that, it doesn't have anything to do with clean energy. So
no,
we want to get the non-clean energy stuff out of the way at the top of the show. And I want to thank you for coming by my house yesterday and bringing me a USB cable that saved my life. Because for 3 months, since February, I've been struggling with my computer, and you solved it with a damn USB cable, which makes me angry that all the time I've spent trying to troubleshoot my podcasting setup and allows it. You know what? You cannot buy a USB cable in the pandemic. The stores are sold out. Staples is sold out. The Source is sold out. Amazon says it's not necessary. It will take a month. I can get my cornflakes in a day.
For a specific, it's a USB-A to USB-B, right? Which is a little bit weird cable.
Yes, it's like the old printer cables, which are no longer needed. But that's what external sound cards are using, as far as I know. I'm probably C2C now. I don't know. But this is a brand new sound card, external mixer thingy. And it's...
So I solved all of your problems.
All of your problems. In fact, this is why we're late this week. Because of my problems. My damn problems.
Yeah, we were going to record yesterday morning. Now we're a day late. But it turns out lots of news has happened in the last 24 hours. So it kind of worked out.
Yes, it did. And I want to compliment you on your Tesla hat. Which
thanks.
You were wearing yesterday. And your Tesla. And I'm wondering, Bryan, I told you that I like hats that don't have noticeable logos on them. And there was a black on black logo. However, my question to you is, can I, as a non-Tesla owner, rightfully wear a Tesla hat, or is it just too tacky for me to do that?
Oh no, it's allowed. And I will say too, I've actually found the hat is actually, any hat, but I have to wear a hat when I'm driving the Tesla, especially in the summer when the sun is really high, because it's a glass roof and it is tinted, so not much sun gets through, but it always bothers me when I'm getting hit by direct sunlight. So yeah, you have to wear a hat.
How is it going with the sun on the roof? I was wondering about that, because you can buy a little clip-on thing to screen it through, right?
Yeah, there are things you can buy. It's got a dark tint, so it's not a huge problem. But I was driving around the other day and I forgot the hat, and it was annoying.
So you have to wear a hat driving a Tesla. because
Yes.
of the glass roof.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds like a negative to me. Has your family complained?
No, I don't think anyone else cares, but it's always been a pet peeve of mine. And it's like when I wear sunglasses, I have to wear a hat when I wear sunglasses because often, even though you've got sunglasses on, the sun shines through over top of them, right? So, I got sensitive eyes. It's a problem.
Well, sure. I mean, once you get used to not having the sun, it becomes a problem. My kids walk around without sunglasses and hats all the time, and I'm trying to put them on them, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
And if I don't have a hat or sunglasses, I will sometimes get used to it for a short period of time. But yeah, you can't have one without the other. There, I said it.
And I had the same problem in my Hyundai because it had a sunroof. It has a sunroof, but in the summer I have to keep the cover on the sunroof closed because it's just too much sunlight.
I'm the same way as well when I drive the SUV, and I was wondering if that's what the experience is in the Tesla, but you can't have a cover. Is it not as bad?
I mean, there's no built-in cover. There is probably some third-party cover you can get, but
your Tesla, is it better than not having the cover on the Hyundai?
Yeah, there's more tint on than there is on the Hyundai. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what a show we have this week. Do you want to start us off with your news story?
Yeah, because we're a day late, we've got 8 days of news to get through. So yeah, we're really jam-packed here. So we gotta burn through it here. And I want to start with more non-clean energy news.
Okay.
I thought this was an interesting story. There's a couple pandemic stories I want to share just really quickly here.
Sure.
The man behind Sweden's controversial virus strategy admits mistakes. So this has been a source of some controversy. Sweden has handled the pandemic differently than a lot of countries. They were much less strict, and they were trying to have a more holistic approach to it, where it's like, well, if we shut everything down, that has certain health consequences. So they were thinking, okay, we shouldn't shut everything down completely because, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's, that creates problems as well. But he's now said it was a mistake and they should have shut down more because they've got 10 times the death rate of neighboring Norway, 5 times the death rate of Denmark. So Sweden admits they were wrong.
So yeah, I saw that conversation, and he's casually talking about how, well, we could have done things better. And you're talking about people's lives here. As a person with 3 comorbidities, whatever that means, that means I'm going to have 3 chances to die from COVID. It's just like, somebody in the death chambers of the Holocaust saying, well, we made some mistakes. Probably should have done it differently. People are dying, but thousands of people are dying. And, and that's what Musk, if I can bring it back to clean energy, Musk was pushing for this, saying that everybody was going to die by Christmas anyway. And, these people, and I'm not going to die I might die by Christmas, but I'm hoping not to. I haven't done my Christmas shopping yet in lieu of that, but I'm hoping to live through Christmas. I don't want to die. No. I'm not a 98-year-old guy who's going to die anyway. And, should we really not care about those people?
No, we should definitely care. Okay, so I've got another quick pandemic story in the Regina Leader Post. Oh, and by the way, so I still get the newspaper every morning.
But you're the only person in Canada who does.
Only person in Canada.
You should be in the newspaper for that fact.
But the Regina Leader Post just announced that the Monday edition is going digital only.
The Monday edition.
So this is the beginning of the end for print delivery of the newspaper. Eventually, they'll maybe just go to the Saturday edition. But anyway, I thought that was a big deal. No more Monday physical copy of the paper.
Well, I'm sorry. You aren't going to be able to huff the ink on the paper anymore on Mondays. What are you going to do?
Well, yeah, and I might just end up switching to the digital edition because I can save $20 a month that way. So it's $10 a month just to get the digital subscription. So I might.
Well, your children will have the same memories that I had of my father leafing through a newspaper every night, or in your case, in the morning at 5 o'clock.
No, and I save the comics page for my younger son. I take it out of the paper every day. So that's one thing I was kind of holding on to, but he's getting older, so he's probably ready to let that go.
Well, the world is changing. The past is behind us.
Okay, so getting back to non-clean energy news. In the Regina Leader Post, they're reporting that a Regina-made decontamination machine is getting international attention. So there's this company here in our city that's invented this ionization machine that will sterilize things. And it sounds kind of amazing. It's it's non-toxic. It takes air, it converts it to oxygen, which then converts to ozone gas using high voltage electricity. And ozone gas will apparently sterilize anything in the room that's exposed to the air. So even if it's a room where there's cupboards that are closed, it'll decontaminate everything in the cupboards because they're all touching the air. And so they've done some tests. They think it's going to kill the COVID virus. They don't have 100% certainty on that. But they've got 2 of these machines, like a smaller one that can cover 15,000 square feet. And they're working on another one that can cover 650,000 square feet, which is what you would use to sterilize a sports arena. So I thought that was pretty cool. The process takes a couple of hours, apparently, and then you have to kind of let the ozone dissipate for a couple hours because you're not supposed to breathe too much ozone. So the buildings have to be empty. But yeah, sounds real promising.
Well, Bryan, I'll push back on that, saying that the spread of COVID is largely done through droplets. So it's the people that are in the stadiums yelling and screaming to their neighbor and the guy being in front of you, rather than coming into a stadium where people have been the day before, and it would have to be the day before to have any chance of surfaces being contaminated.
You're a pessimist, so of course you would think that.
Yes, I'm the pessimist of the show. That's why I was hired for this show, is to be a yang to your yang, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I'm a pessimist. However, there seems like there could be. I mean, if you had one installed in a school, my kids would never come home with a cold. Well, that's not true. They would sneeze on each other. But yeah, the surface, I think the science on COVID is changing all the time. And they're talking about the surfaces aren't as important as they originally thought. They say transmission could be, and I know I saw in China today did like 1 million or 10 million COVID tests, like on everybody. And they only found 300 people with who were asymptomatic and had the disease out of 10 million.
Right. Well, that's interesting.
Having said that, those 300 people could, do a lot of damage if they're spreading it and not knowing it. So, yeah, COVID times. Have you anything else then?
Yeah, let's keep. So that takes care. So we're back to clean energy news here.
Okay, let's just have a demarcation here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for clean energy news.
No more goofing around. Time for clean energy news. So this is, sticking with local story, Saskatchewan launches new lithium production project. So we're going to try and somehow mine lithium here in our home province of Saskatchewan.
That was my top story too, Bryan. And it's interesting because the spokesperson on radio in Saskatchewan didn't sound too competent. So I have my doubts about some things, but what they're doing is not going exploring for lithium on their own. They're doing it in the oil basin, the Williston Basin, which is in southern Saskatchewan, southeastern Saskatchewan. And it's got oil exploration going on already. So they're using that infrastructure and the knowledge of where they've already drilled to find where water is. And then what's different is they pump out the water from deep underground and make a brine and take the lithium out of the water and put the water back in. So it's very environmental compared to other ways of getting lithium. For instance, where is it? The other parts of the world, I know, South America, Australia strip mines lithium. And I think they have large sort of lake beds in Chile or somewhere where you can correct me, email me, Clean Energy Show, if I'm wrong. But anyway, they're claiming that it's a very, very environmental way of doing it. And when they asked why didn't we do this before, they said, well, because there was no demand. But now there's demand because of EVs. And I think that demand is on the precipice of exploding once the economy comes back. Because I know Germany said that when they have incentives to get the economy going again, they're not giving incentives to anything to do with gas or diesel cars. It's all going towards EVs. So you're going to get incentives to go out and buy a car. It's going to be an EV. And that's a big deal. That was one of the biggest stories yesterday that all the actual clean energy experts were talking about, because if more countries do that, then the hit that fossil fuels are taking now is going to be amplified by how we recover from this.
And of course, companies are trying to get the lithium out of their batteries because it's expensive and often, kind of hard to get. So then maybe the lithium market will eventually dry up, but I don't think anytime soon anyway. And perhaps like if this lithium that we've got here is easier to get, then maybe it's less of an issue of trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. And I think that cobalt is the big thing that they're trying to get rid of, and they may have successfully done that with the latest battery technology that we haven't seen revealed from Tesla, but other people are saying that too.
Okay, other local energy news. There was an oil leak from the refinery near your house.
Yes, and let me just interject, Brian. Have you gone for any more walks?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did. I went for another walk in your neighborhood in Uplands, and this time I did walk past your house.
Okay. How was it?
And it was lovely.
Was it before or after I mowed my lawn?
I do not recall because I just don't care that much.
Okay.
So, I went for 4 different walks in your neighborhood on 4 different days. And I did realize that 3 days would have been enough. 4 was a bit much. I ended up repeating some territory, but well, I did go back.
That's always, imagine me. I have to do the same route every night.
Exactly. Yeah. So, the oil refinery, first they announced that some water leaked into the city sewer system. And then now they've said that some of it has spilled into Wascana Creek as well.
Which is our main creek going through the city. It's dammed to make a artificial lake, which has a large urban park around it. For those of you not familiar with Regina, Saskatchewan, where Bryan and I are currently self-isolating over Skype. So what do you make of that? Well,
I don't know. It's just...
a little oil in the water system. It's all right. Yeah. Whatever.
Looking forward to the days when we don't have to worry about this.
And they're on strike, too. They've been on strike for 6 months. And so they've got scam people. And they kept, the unions kept warning, well, it's dangerous. And they're not meeting standards. And they would occasionally post videos to Twitter of bad things coming out of the gas exhaust pipes and this is this, and it will kill you because they're not doing this. And it didn't make any sense to me, but bad things could be happening.
The skilled workers are on strike, so who knows what could happen there.
God, I feel sorry for them. I drive by them every day, and it's nasty business. You know what, Brian, speaking of Regina, where we live, there was a report to Regina City Council that showed that hired rides in Regina are up 13% since Uber came here. When did Uber come here, Brian? Was it about a year ago?
Well, I think less. Maybe it was maybe January.
Was it really that? Okay. Well, since Uber came here, and we haven't had anything but taxis since then, more people are using, 13% more people are using hired rides, which is, of course, a good thing. Now, taxi rides only fell 5%, which was that's a year-over-year drop. But the sky has not fallen on the taxi industry like they were worried it would, and I think a lot of people thought maybe it would. The good news, though, is that people are using that, and even here in Regina. We're not New York City. We're very much a driving town.
Yeah, no, we're new to Uber, but it's definitely taking off. And I do feel bad for the cab drivers. They're losing business, but it's a better way to go. And the cab system has never been particularly great anywhere I've been.
Yeah. So I've heard lots of anecdotal stories about cab drivers in Regina also driving Ubers.
Oh,
if
yeah.
they're not getting enough shifts or whatever. So, not that it pays all that great or anything like that. Anyway, Bryan City Council in Edmonton has some very interesting things going on up there. That's Edmonton, Alberta, the capital of Alberta. Next door to us, in the province next door, is 30% off of e-bikes. That's a rebate. And that is extremely generous. I have not heard of e-bike rebates. I'm sure they exist, but I have, locally on various parts of the world, but I have not heard of them anywhere. And this is the first one I've heard. And it's Edmonton, of course, is a city that is moving to all electric buses run off of batteries. And I think from now on, that's all they're buying as they replace their diesel buses is battery electric buses. They've tested them for a couple of years up there, and they're at the price point now where they're really cheap. Like the long-term cost of ownership to the city saves them like $100,000 a bus or something. So why the hell wouldn't you do that? Anyway, I think that's very exciting as a recent e-bike purchaser. Although I don't use mine for commuting, I use mine for exercise and fun. I could see the appeal of using an e-bike for commuting, though, especially in larger cities. I think the bigger the city, the more traffic you have. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And Edmonton, of course, it's in the middle of oil country, oil sands country. And I think we see this quite a bit is that city governments have often been more progressive in terms of green energy. But yeah, I was very excited to hear that. And if I was able to get a 30% rebate, I would absolutely buy an electric bike immediately.
And a lot of people are, there's been news stories about e-bikes being in high demand because of the pandemic. I will say that Walmart has got those bikes back in stock, both in the store and online, those $798 bikes that are highly well reviewed. They have good reviews on YouTube, and they don't have the longest range in the world, but they're probably similar to my bike, just with shorter range as far as performance is concerned. And yeah, it depends. Some people, when they do bike commutes, they have quite a surprisingly long range, like 30 kilometers or something like that but that's 30 kilometers through traffic that you're just breezing through. And sometimes you can make it there in the same time or faster than traffic. So
yeah, absolutely.
The problem is, what do you do with the heavy bike when you get to work? If you have to carry it upstairs, then it's not so great. And you don't really want to lock them outside. Even without the battery, they're valuable, and it's hard to prevent bike thefts. Anyway, you can get a 30% off an e-bike up to $750. So that means you can buy a pretty expensive, decent bike and still get 30% off of it. And they also, and this is what I've been waiting for forever here, and it's never come, and I'm hoping maybe the feds do something with this, is a rebate on a home charger for EVs. So it's 50% off to a maximum of $600. You can buy a $1,200 charger for $600, and that's pretty sweet, because that's it's kind of a nuisance to a lot of people to have. I think that's just the charger. A lot of times what people will do is they'll stick with 110 volts and not. I really don't like them doing that, because it's not as efficient. So using more electricity than you would with a 240 volt. Don't ask me why that is, but it's the 110 is less efficient. The chargers are less efficient. So 50% off that, but it's the installation that gets people, because the installation can vary depending on your situation. Like you might need a new electrical panel, you might need a sub panel, like I did when I got my solar done. So I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to see more incentives on that, because that is a drawback for people to buy cars. They kind of do that. Also, there's a commercial one. If you have a business, you can get $2,000 towards a charger.
No, that's really exciting. And I might need, if I needed another charger, I might need a bigger electrical panel or something. I'm sort of running out of room on my electrical panel at home, so that can be an expense for sure.
Well, you do have a 240 volt tea kettle outlet.
Yeah, but I'm not giving that up. I might have to give that up if I need another charger, and there's no way.
You can't run your charging cable at the cottage out the door for the tea kettle?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
In a
And-
pinch, though, it'll work.
Yeah, just getting back to electric bikes for a second. Yeah, the theft problem hasn't really been solved particularly well with bicycles in general. But of course, yeah, e-bikes can be quite expensive and you really don't want them stolen. So you want them locked up securely. The only company I think that's made some headway on that is Van Moof that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the Dutch cycle company. They've got GPS in their bikes. So if your bike gets stolen, they can often be recovered. And it's got like warnings on it and stuff. Like you can, once you walk away, it sort of locks the wheel. And if someone tries to steal it, it starts making noise like a car alarm. So, that technology's got to be worked on for sure. Bike theft.
Yeah. Well, I think that sort of thing is becoming cheaper and cheaper. But then, if you have a GPS in it, can it be overridden or, adjusted by thieves? People, the truth, though, is that I've read statistics on this, the bike thieves are actually often drug addicts who are not, they're just going to turn it over. They're going to turn over a bike to their drug addict or to the drug dealer and, give me a $10. $10 is like the fee, the value that they get from bikes. So a lot of it is from desperate people with addictions rather than people who are, trying to resell your bike on Kijiji for market value, which rarely happens. Although somebody has to sell those bikes. They take them to other cities,
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they'll take them to other cities. The drug dealer will acquire a certain amount of bikes and then ship them off to Calgary and sell them there in Kijiji.
Yeah.
So
I got some more news from Alberta, if we can do that for a sec.
Wow.
We got a lot to cover this week.
Oh, it's so much. Keep going. Don't stop.
So Suncor is one of our big oil companies here in Canada. The CEO wrote an article for an industry magazine warning that the oil sands must diversify before electric vehicles bring a new drop in oil demand. So this was a big deal because usually the oil companies don't like to admit that the demand might be shrinking soon. So this was kind of a big deal.
Well, who's listening though? Is it just like, is it grains of sand falling off the sandcastle that every now and again somebody's, in the oil industry is getting awakened by this? Or are they just going to completely ignore it and assume that everything's going to be great? I think they've really had a wake-up call though, don't you? I mean, this has really kicked them in the butts.
Oh yeah, they're experiencing a huge drop in demand and they're realizing what that means. So yeah, who knows? And the other interesting thing about the article was, he's not talking about diversifying necessarily into, solar and wind or anything. He's suggesting that the industry diversify into hydrogen, renewable jet fuel, whatever that is, and carbon fiber. So I don't know, renewable jet fuel, and carbon fiber as well. Apparently the bitumen type oil is good for making carbon fiber or something. So they're looking at still, unfortunately, extracting all this stuff, but, just doing different things with it.
Well, it's one thing to burn it and it's another to sometimes make something with it. Yeah, you get, landfill issues and stuff. But I have the radical view, and this will piss off a lot of people, that I would rather make something with oil than burn it. And, just have a giant pile in, say, the middle of the United States. Of plastic, because it's going to be a wasteland soon, as we all know.
Yeah.
That's my thinking anyway.
Yeah.
Renewable jet fuel. That's, what the hell is that?
I have no idea. And I don't think I want to know.
There's aviation biofuels, which is, biofuels have got a bad name. Have you heard anything good about biofuels lately?
Yeah, no, that was certainly a big buzzword in the industry years ago, biofuel, but it's, what is it? Marginally better than digging oil out of the ground, but yeah, not by much.
Anything else this week, Bryan?
I have more, but now it's your turn.
It's not my turn. It can't be my turn. We've covered most of what I wanted to talk about. On a personal note, I have ordered a hitch for my Nissan Leaf, like a trailer hitch, a class 1, which is the small hole. And I'm going to put my bike rack, my hitch bike rack from the SUV on, because it's killing me. I've been appreciating my electric car more since I've been threatening to deplate it, to deregister it for the summer, because I can have the bike rack on the SUV and we can do sort of camping and kayaking type activities with the SUV. And yeah, and it's killing me. It's killing me to deplate my, and I haven't done it. It's $3 a day. And, every time I start the SUV is $3 just for premium gas. So I'm putting a hitch for $275 at U-Haul. It is coming on Tuesday of next week, so I'll have an update for you on the next show.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it.
However, somebody rained on my parade.
Uh-huh.
And that person is you.
What?
You told me, while delivering the cable that saved my life, the life-saving cable of doom, that people get tickets if they don't have bikes on them. I was hoping to drive around town with this bike rack on all the time.
Yeah.
And if I can't get a ticket, I got a ticket. My wife got a ticket and a camera ticket the other month. I can't get a ticket. We can't afford tickets.
Well, how difficult is it to take the hitch, to take the rack off?
Yeah, it involves bending, and I don't bend anymore.
I'm not big on bending either.
Bending and ratcheting, and it's basically just one screw, one bolt, which is handy, but it involves bending and lifting a heavy rack off. So it's not impossible, and it's in some ways it's pretty straightforward and easy. Normally, I'd have one of my kids taking mountain biking classes this time of year, but because of the pandemic, I'm not. So I'd be having it on for regular trips on that, but. Yeah, I've only used the bike rack once on the SUV, so I'm having second thoughts. I don't know if I've done the wrong thing or if it's going to reduce my range because of airflow, even without the rack. So, but I could tow things.
Well, I guess
experiments.
On the highway it would reduce range, but around the city probably wouldn't matter that much.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
well, I'm getting tons of range in the city. It's ridiculous. I can't even believe that my 7+-year-old car, almost 7.5-year-old car, is getting so much range in the summer. Like it's just, especially on days you don't need heavy air conditioning. It's like goes forever and ever. The battery is doing fine, he said, knocking on wood.
That's great.
Everybody has battery anxiety. Especially with, and I don't even have a good battery. I've got one of the worst Leaf batteries they ever made. That's why I got the car so cheap, is because in March of that year, it was made in January and March, they started making better chemistry batteries. So anyway, Bryan, it's time for the lightning round.
Wow. It feels like we've already been doing the lightning round. We got so much.
I know. Do you think we need an intro for the lightning round? Like a produced intro? Really?
Yeah, go ahead. Do it.
No, not now. I mean,
not now? Oh, okay.
I mean, like with actual music and an announcer.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Because I can get one for about $12. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. $12. American. Bryan, it's time for the lightning round, and this is a brand new feature, only featured in one show, and I think it was a success. You agreed. This is where I throw headlines at you, and you give me your comment on them. And, yeah. So here we go. Here's a few headlines. You can pass on them if you want. I don't care. Okay. 1 in 5 kids with lung disease in the UK are showing improvements thanks to the pandemic. Have you any thoughts?
What do you mean improvements? Oh, because of the lack of air pollution.
Because of the lack of...
okay, I thought maybe the virus had turned them superhuman or something.
Magically healed.
Yeah. No, well, that's fantastic. It's... this wasn't a news story I was necessarily going to talk about, but it was announced that Tesla had the #1 selling car in California for the first quarter of this year.
Yes.
And that's an indication, I think, of, a place like California. They really care about the air quality. Everyone's very concerned about it and making moves in that direction, even though, all of the government subsidies for Teslas have run out in the U.S. So a Tesla Model 3, a fairly expensive car, is beating out the Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla, the Accord, all these similar cheaper cars because people in California just want clean air.
Yeah, and the clean air issue in California goes back almost as old as I am, to the late 60s and early 70s, and that's what influenced me seeing that on the news about environmental issues. And it has improved with technology and fuel efficiency and the catalytic converters in cars that came along, but it's still bad. And Bryan, people are going to be studying air quality and the effects of economics and environment that this pandemic had for decades. Like, if this ever ends, the studies are going to be going on and on and on. And these are just the earliest studies where we're seeing that how air pollution affects people. It's always been vague to me when people say, well, air pollution kills this many people a year. Well, how does that happen? And it happens just by people with asthma having more asthma attacks and dying, and other lung issues in older age. So pollution, especially in India, my God, even indoor air pollution is bad in India because the pollution is so bad. So I hope that the economics are there for India to rapidly, as they expand their middle class, electrify transportation and use clean energy to get there. So, yeah, I think it's fast. It's just one of those many fascinating studies that are going to come out. The next one, Bryan.
No, hang on. Just one last thing to wrap up. Yeah, the pandemic, it's giving new data points, essentially, that we wouldn't normally have had. Like, it's without the pandemic, there's all kinds of these types of studies that just wouldn't exist because there would have been no way to compare clean air to dirty air because there was no such thing as clean air.
Just a minute. The pipeline plane is flying over my house.
It's the plane that inspects the pipelines.
Yes. And you know what? I assumed that it traveled like all the way to the U.S. border or something. And I checked it on flightradar.com. They're only checking the pipeline within the city limits.
Interesting.
That's all they're doing. And it's because it could blow up and kill me. That's why they're inspecting it on a regular basis from the air instead of the whole pipeline.
Well, if it keeps flying back and forth over the same area, I would run.
Yeah. I've actually considered that because I think one time they did turn around and come back, and it's a fairly low level flight, like it's like 1,800 feet or something, as opposed to 3,000. So like the guy, you can look up at them and they'll tip their wings to you and wave as a matter of waving.
That close.
It's
wow.
Like, yeah, and so I always have to wear clothes outdoors now just because of that plane, because I assume they have photographs. Let's move on. Tesla, the Tesla stock has soared. I've been told, according to the internet, because the market sees SpaceX's success. And wasn't that a great launch last week?
Yeah, I enjoyed watching that launch. And were
you nervous for the astronauts?
Oh, yeah, terribly. It's like, because, sometimes those things blow up. So it was, it was pretty nerve-wracking. It's not maybe super fun for me to watch that because I do get nervous about those sorts of things. But so far, it's worked out. I mean, they're going to be up there for a few months, I think, and then they still have to land. So, but yeah, a great success. And it's a real good news story, particularly in the U.S. They're obviously very interested in having U.S. rockets launching American astronauts for the first time in 9 years. So this is a huge American story. So it makes sense that the good news would spill over into Tesla.
Yeah, my daughter keeps asking me day after day, do you think the astronauts know about the race riots? Do you think they know?
Yeah, no, they keep me in the dark.
Yeah, they got the internet up there. So yeah, I think that the coming back to Earth, it's just a capsule with a parachute, which is pretty straightforward as long as the capsule doesn't burn up like the space shuttle did.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Should be fine. You'll be fine. They'll be fine. It's always disappointing when the rocket goes to land on the drone ship and it cuts out just as it lands and comes back and suddenly it's there.
Yeah, the camera often cuts out.
And the reason I watched a YouTube video on this is because it makes the ship vibrate, and the ship has to use a satellite because they're quite a few hundred kilometers offshore, I think. They have to have a direct shot at the satellite, and when it's vibrating, that beam gets thrown off. And there's not much of a workaround other than running a cable or radio signal to an adjacent ship.
It turns out there was another launch yesterday. SpaceX,
and it worked.
They launched more of their satellites for the Starlink network of internet satellites. They launched another 60 of those. And I didn't watch it live, but I was able to watch the rocket land, and it didn't cut out that time.
Yeah, that's right. It didn't. And I'm wondering how many of those tiny little Starlink satellites that they're using for Wi-Fi are up now. They did 60 yesterday.
Yeah, so they have around 500 now up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And are they testing them? Like, Musk sent out a tweet, right, that was sent via that satellite.
There's nothing new, but yeah, there should be, company beta testing soon, and then a public beta testing in another few months, possibly here in Canada where we are, because it's northern hemisphere type stuff is going to be the first to get the trials.
Really?
Yes. If there's, there'll probably be some type of lottery system to get in on the trial, but we'll see. I'll definitely try and get in on the beta if I can.
Is it just North America that they're doing it, or is it other places?
I think it might be other northern countries as well. Yeah, I think.
Now, wouldn't you start testing this with only, like, say, 61 launch and 60 satellites, or maybe they have tested it and maybe
they've probably done something, yeah, but a more complete test of the whole system
with actual end users that would use
exactly
the system.
Yeah. They're going to start with employees of SpaceX. They're going to be testing it out at their homes or their farms or whatever.
This could be revolutionary, and so far we haven't seen any indication in the night sky, have we?
No, and again, I did another time-lapse photography of the Milky Way last weekend and did not catch any Starlink satellites once again. So, yeah, so far I don't think the disruption has been huge. There's only been a couple of videos on the internet of people capturing them. And I think it tends to be when they deploy because they're in a lower orbit or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly.
Okay. Well, anyway, the SpaceX launch affected Tesla's stock, which I find odd, don't you?
It's a little bit odd, but it's a good news story, and it's attached to Musk because he's doing both companies, so it's not super crazy.
Does it show though that he has an image problem, and as far as capability, and then he does something remarkable like this, and that sort of alleviates that issue?
Yeah. And some of the image problem, he's responsible for some of the image problem, and some of the image problem is just the sort of the FUD that's been distributed over the last several years about, all the stories about Tesla going bankrupt and everything. There's been obviously a concerted effort from the oil lobby to, kill Tesla and kill electric cars. So that seems to be finally being overcome. The company's profitable. They've got the best-selling car in California. The good news stories are starting to outweigh the bad news stories.
All right. Well, here's something that I have an opinion on. I'm going to throw it at you. An Israeli startup wants to electrify roads that charge your car while driving. This is nothing new. This is where they basically put a induction charger in the road for, I don't know, several kilometers, and you have an induction charger in your car, which are starting to become a thing, by the way, because of the efficiency gains and cheapness of them. So you can pull into your driveway and it'll tell you beep, it's charging without plugging in, which is kind of nice. But they've been around for years. But the idea of putting in the roads has also been around for years, but this Israeli startup wants to do it. What do you think of that?
Oh, it's a fabulous idea, but it just does not seem practical. And, the other options for charging vehicles are just going to turn out to be cheaper. So seems it's super cool. Seems pretty unlikely.
Seems very unlikely to me. And it seems unnecessary because how expensive would it be to do 5 kilometers every so often of of charging in a road? It'd be incredibly expensive. for whatever
Yeah.
that costs, and plus having the equipment on your car, and you might have to slow down to 80 kilometers an hour or something, but really, how much of a charge are you going to get? Yeah, I think it's a fantasy, and I think it's wrong. So Rivian, Bryan, reopens their factory. However, they are delaying the electric pickup truck and SUV. However, and this is something that we've all been looking forward to, is the Rivian electric truck is a smaller adventure vehicle, but it's expensive, and it's got some great specs, and it looks good, and I would freaking drive one if someone gave one to me. And are you listening, Rivian? I'll take a free truck. The Amazon, they're using the platform for Amazon delivery vans, like 100,000 of them. That is still on schedule.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard there was a delay in their pickup trucks, but yeah, probably they're focusing on filling that order for Amazon, who has ordered, 100,000 electric delivery vans from Rivian. So yeah, it makes sense the pickup truck would be delayed so they can finish those van orders first.
So, when you see an Amazon electric delivery van at your house, and you're one of these people who says the electric doesn't work and it's minus 40 and you're getting your Christmas package delivered in an electric vehicle, I think it will quickly erode people's conceptions of electric vehicles, or misconceptions, I should say.
Yeah, no, I agree, because it's Amazon is really becoming ubiquitous. So it's going to be an important, from a image perspective.
Well, finally, Bryan, a work-at-home trends could mean a permanent reduction in oil use. Where do you stand on this issue? Have you been thinking about that?
I'm thinking more and more that that's going to be likely. It's going to, things are starting to open up again post-pandemic, but of course things are opening up slowly. And if there's any more outbreak of the virus, things are going to shut right back down again. So, this is going to be a long process of people working at home. And, by the time this is resolved by, say, a vaccine, people will have been working at home for probably a year or a year and a half. So habits are going to get ingrained. And absolutely, I think more and more people will be working at home even when there's a vaccine.
I've seen stats from large companies that say that, 30% have been proven that they can work from home and should work from home. What do you think about people working from home, though? I mean, how does that change society? Because we're not interacting with people.
You definitely have to have, new routines, and you've got to organize your life in a different way. Of course, post-pandemic, it will be different, because you can, if you're working at home, you can go to the coffee shop and work there for a couple of hours. Whereas right now, we kind of don't have that option. So, when I'm working at home, that's what I tend to do. Is I'll go for a walk. I'll take my laptop to a coffee shop. I'll go to the library. You kind of got to break up your day, and you end up seeing other humans that way. So that's the weird part of it right now, is that we are definitely starved for human contact. Having to do all these meetings through Zoom is something, but it doesn't, really fulfill that need. But post-pandemic, you'll be able to, or go to these co-working spaces, right, which have become quite popular. Spend half your day there just for a change of pace. Yeah.
Do you miss human interaction at a workplace when the university sent you home?
Well, no, not really, because it was...
Thank God, I hate people.
It was never, aside from the students and the classes, there wasn't a huge amount of interaction anyway. So, I miss the students, and I'm probably going to have to teach online in the fall. That's being set up right now. So I'm definitely going to miss seeing the students in person in the fall, but, hopefully it's resolved by the winter.
Yeah. Well, Bryan, that's it for me this week. What else would you like to talk about?
I just wanted to mention that I just found out that there's a Tesla Supercharger in Fargo, North Dakota.
Is there? Is that new?
That is fairly new. I'm not sure when it opened, but, Tesla covers most of North America with its charging network, but there was dead spots in Saskatchewan. There's still a few, but a lot of those have been covered now with the Trans-Canada Highway. But Fargo and North Dakota, South Dakota has been a bit of a dead spot for Tesla. So they've got one now in Fargo. The others are planned for later this year. So yeah, if I was to drive south from here through the U.S., it would be a little bit dicey. Not quite enough chargers, but one in Fargo really helps a lot. And
how would you get to Fargo? Have you done?
You'd have to go to Winnipeg.
Oh, really?
I would go east to Winnipeg and then straight south from Winnipeg. Even that'll be a little bit dicey. I don't know. You might have to stay overnight somewhere just with level 2 charging. But yeah, there's supposedly a big expansion coming of deployment of Tesla Superchargers. So hopefully a lot of these holes will be filled this year.
Well, it's also because of where we live.
Yeah.
Winnipeg can do it. Calgary can do it. They can head south quite easily and hook up with a supercharger fairly quick after the border. Yeah,
and Fargo's just a real great city. I look forward to visiting again. You and I were there for a film festival a few years ago. That was a ton of fun. So, yeah, hoping someday to have another road trip to Fargo.
In a Tesla.
In a Tesla. It would be amazing. Or, yeah, like I say, if I have to go south, drive south through the U.S., it's there's some gaps, not a lot of routes.
Oh, there's gaps.
Yeah.
I dislike going on that route because I've made it 3 times in the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
I went to Sedona for the same film festival. I went to Fargo, and I went to Denver last year and California the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a big mass of nothingness.
Yeah.
And don't even ask me about Wyoming. Holy cow, it makes Saskatchewan look like a advanced worldly place. It's, yeah, you can understand the politicians that come from there are very, very nasty. But I look forward to the day that my Tesla, which I don't have yet, but will have full self-driving, and I can make that trip. And I've thought about this many times while I was making the trip, fantasizing that, man, self-driving would be nice. I would like to go to sleep at 11 o'clock in Regina and wake up somewhere with civilization in the States and have my car do the driving. We're a long ways off from that, especially as far as refueling that car and stuff like that. But well, if I die during the pandemic, I won't make it, but it could be 10 years off. It could be 12 years off. Who knows? We'll see. We'll keep you updated on the show.
You and I should think about going to Fully Charged Live in Austin, Texas in, I think it's June 2021.
Is that right?
That would be a fun drive for you and I if we can make that an electric vehicle next year, if things are open again.
We can make YouTube videos along the way and podcasts, and it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you. We like to hear from you, and maybe you're angry at us because we've made a mistake. Maybe we didn't talk about something you wanted to talk about. We'd love to hear from you. It is cleanenergyshow@gmail.com. That's cleanenergyshow, one word, at Gmail. We love email. We love Twitter, CLN Energy Show on Twitter. And where else are we? We're on speakpipe.com, where you can leave us a message. speakpipe.com/cleanenergyshow, one word. And you can press a button on your laptop and be speaking to us as a special guest on our show. We love that too, because frankly, I get sick of just hearing us. I'd love to hear someone else once in a while. So we'll see you again next week, Bryan.
Just to be clear, angry emails go to James. I only want the nice, pleasant ones.
And I'm not supposed to mention them to him, so that's fine. Okay, Bryan, it's been fun. We'll see you again, hopefully on Wednesday, because my USB cable has saved my life and rejuvenated my podcasting career. Thank you very much.
We'll see you next week.